Woo! What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's kind of warm here in the New York City area. I just had the AC on. I cut it off because it's too loud. But we're going to see how long that lasts because it's a little warm in here. Spook Realm 4Q, you are first as usual. What's up? Um, And once again, Spook Realm says, assault that like button and buy the extraordinary book. My brother's name is Kenny. Thank you so much. Yes, please hit the like button. Everybody that's on the channel does not hit the like button. We need the like button. It helps the algorithm. And the book is in the link. The link is in the description below for the book. My brother's name is Kenny. If you don't have the book, get the book because a lot of the questions you guys ask me, I go into great detail in the book. And the audio book is coming soon. Um, Gregory Nettis, what up? Haitian Space Program, what up? Oh, Haitian Space was a run that beat tape. I freaking forgot. You know what? I gotta put batteries in my radio. I forgot the beat tape. Why didn't you remind me earlier, Haitian Space Program? I'm gonna do that on Tuesday. Damn, I knew there was something I wanted to do today, and that's what it was, and I forgot. Shaking my head. Gregory Nettis says, "Yo, Kenny, if you could go back to any year, which year would you go back to?" I myself would go back to 1972. Word up. Wow. I would probably go back to 93. I'd either go back to 84 or 93 because those were pivotal years in my life. And I would do things a little bit differently. There's a couple of maneuvers I could have done different, especially in 93. I could have, I had some business opportunities in 93 that had I been more business focused would have probably changed my life. Um, I talk about that. I don't know how much I talk about that on this channel that I was back in the 90s, back in the day. I used to think more like an artist and not like a businessman. And I wish I could go back and tell myself to think more business minded. I would have made a lot more money. So in 93, that's the year I would go back to because I would fix a couple of things. Um, and no job turkeys allowed, word. Um, Dre Stock Dollars, what up? Rod Justice, what up? I'm gonna try to move quick, see if I can catch up. Floetry One, what up? Jack Swagger, what up? Zigzag Boogie, what up? Oh, my man, haven't seen in a while. Stu's Design, the guy who did my logo and has the logo up in the corner of this video. Rewind Posse in the house, catching the live for once. Hey, Kenny, how you been? I'm good, brother. Big up Stu's Design for hooking up the graffiti uh, logo that you see in the corner. Dan Marasuti, what's up? Jack Swagger, what's up? JT, what's up? I'm moving quick. I'm moving quick, y'all. Cutie Pie 509 is a regular now. Hey, what's up? Sweet Goldilocks, hey, what's up? Ed Olivier, I see all the regulars. Rosmel, what it do? Chef Daddy, I haven't seen Chef Daddy in a while. What it do? Um, Derek Mallory, salute from Minneapolis, St. Paul. I don't recognize this name. Fist Music. Peace, KP. I don't recognize that name. Are you new to the channel? H. Bippy, what's up? Where you been? In plain sight says Kenny setting it off on the first day of summer. Summer is by far my favorite time of year. Not even close. Um, and I'm going to enjoy this whole summer as much as possible. FU2, what up? VHS Hip Hop, what up? Patrick Y, what up? Um, Juan Francisco Laura, shout out from the Dominican Republic, DR. I am down with the boogie down. Yes, I've been to the Dominican Republic one time. Shout out to my man Kevin, who was getting married out there, and I DJ'd his wedding. Shout out to his wife Liz as well. DR was nice, although I had on a tuxedo. It was like 90 degrees. Bacon. Jack Swagger says, Kenny, KP gave us the battery excuse last week. LOL, Kenny don't love us. I do. What happened last week was I got in late. I got in the house just in time to do the live, so I didn't get a chance to get batteries. And then I said, I'm going to get the batteries, and I forgot all about it. I was in the studio this week. So much was going on, and I forgot. And I was like, I know there's something I want to do. And then it was like, oh, get the batteries for the radio. And this radio I bought in 1996. I don't even know if the radio still works. We're going to see. Remember the waterproof yellow radios? It's one of those. Oh, Big Bad. I think I talked about this on this channel before. Still confused about how Xzibit called his song The Kenny Parker Show. Were you involved? Any residuals for you? Well, first, quick backstory to that. The story I got was that Xzibit and Dr. Dre or Dr. Dre or both reached out to KRS-One because they wanted to do that song. I guess that was Xzibit's favorite song on Edutainment, The Kenny Parker Show. So we talk about publishing all the time on this channel. And I also did a breakdown of the song, The Kenny Parker Show, the 12-inch. For those that didn't get a chance to check it out, it's on this channel. Please check out the making of The Kenny Parker Show 12-inch single. So I talk all the time on this channel about publishing. When you want to do a song over, when you want to sample a song or use a song, you go to the person who owns the publishing. And considering that KRS-One wrote and produced that song, he owns all the publishing. So when Dr. Dre and Xzibit reached out to do the song, they reached out to KRS, as they should. I believe he came in the studio or he did a drop for them. I haven't heard that song in so long. He did a drop for them, and they used it in the song. I didn't know anything about that song until Xzibit's album came out. And somebody told me, no matter of fact, I have a friend, shout out my friend Dana. She looked up my name on Napster. Remember was it Napster? One of those file sharing platforms. And Kenny Parker comes up. Kenny Parker intro to the live album, the Kenny Parker Show, and then Kenny Parker and Xzibit. So she was like, you did a song with Xzibit? I was like, no. And then she showed me Kenny Parker Xzibit on Napster. That's how I found out, on Napster. So I immediately investigated. I called Chris. I was like, yo, what's going on? He was like, oh, damn, I forgot to tell you. They did the Kenny Parker Show over. And that was it. I didn't get any residuals. I'm not owed any residuals because I don't have any publishing on that song. Even though I did do scratches on the song, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm not owed any residuals. I should have probably got broken off a little something just for using my name, but the song's called The Kenny Parker Show, and they went through the proper legal channels and they cleared the song. So to answer your question, was I involved? No. Did I get any residuals? No. I heard about that song on Napster, and now I'm behind. D King 1989 is the man. What up? CMCs as usual. DJ Kenny Parker, what up? Boom Bap Chat, what up? Um, Imperial J to MC. Yo, KP, I back. Been missing the live Tuesdays, Tuesday, Fridays. You know, I was meaning to talk to about too. I'm not trying to dwell too much on this, not trying to disrespect no one. Oh, he says no logo is on the screen. Word? Oh, shoot. I must have did something and removed it. The logo is normally on the screen. Who knows what I did, y'all, but I'll put it back. I think on Tuesday I'm going to wear the shirt that Stu's Design gave me with the logo so y'all can see it even more. I'm bugging. I thought the logo was on the screen. It's normally on the screen. I'm using my iPad today, so I don't know. Um, I always talk on this channel about I don't believe in dope and whack, and it because music is too subjective. And I've seen all across my feed. Uh, there was a debate, I think it was a couple weeks ago, about who's a better rapper, Styles P or uh, Jim Jones, and that was a back and forth, back and forth. And now I see a young kid came out and said Jim Jones has a better catalog or is a better artist or has a better catalog than Nas because this kid who looked like he's about 20 doesn't know any Nas songs. So because he doesn't know any Nas songs, Jim Jones is better because he knows Jim Jones songs. Plus Jim Jones had swagger because he had better belts. I'm paraphrasing, but basically Jim Jones had better gear and his belts were better than Nas's belts. And that's all over my feed. But then I was saying, well, this is just a young boy. You know, he doesn't even have any perspective to even compare. But then I see that Jim Jones co-signed this young boy's opinion, and he indeed is saying that he is a better artist than Nas, and he's basing it on Billboard singles, I think. Um, and the only reason I bring this up, I don't know Jim Jones at all. No disrespect to Jim Jones, he's had an incredible career. Um, I met Nas a couple of times. You know, he was cool. I never had a chance to have a conversation with Nas. Be great to come on the channel, Nas. Um, but he's a good friend of my brother. But I say that to say Jim Jones, this is an opinion, and this is an opinion. He thinks he's a better artist than Nas. And from his perspective, and from I guess that kid's perspective, kid being 20 years old, that is true. For them, that is true. For other people, they would say that Nas is not only a better artist, but one of the greatest to ever touch down. Um, but it remains to be seen. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. It's just opinions, you know, so it's not like um, someone's right or someone's wrong, but if you're using Billboard as the measure of who's the best rapper, you know, there's a bunch of different variables that will decide who's the best. And Billboard charts being maybe one criteria, but if you look at it like that, I can name Vanilla Ice is probably the greatest artist of the 90s. I'm pretty sure he had one album that probably sold, that one album sold 13 million copies in 1 year. I mean, no one else, even Big and Pac and those guys didn't have one album to sell that much. You know, if you're just looking at Billboard charts and comparing, you can have all kind of people ranked all kind of ways. Um, I think Jim Jones had a dope career. Uh, he had, I consider him having mostly features. I mean, mostly either features or with Dipset. I don't think he's had too many big songs on his own to me, but comparable to Nas, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I just wanted to bring that up because when we talk about music being subjective, there's people with all kind of opinions, and the people will co-sign. Um, I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, and also I believe that people will say things to create hype too. So, yeah, I'm just gonna watch quietly. I said my piece. I'm gonna watch quietly and see how this plays out. JT says KP just gonna skip the fact that he was in the studio this week. Yeah, I was just working on some stuff. I don't want to talk about it too much until you guys, till I'm able to present it. Daniela Don says, "Yo, KP, have you or Chris been to Africa?" I have not. I do not believe Chris has. Plus, for those that don't know, KRS Chris does not fly. So going to Africa, he would either have to change his rules and fly or take a cruise ship, which is how he usually travels back and forth overseas. That would probably be like a month one way. Um, I don't know. But no, I never been there. Joey Joe, what up? And by the way, big up to the Rewind crew that's gonna check this out later on. Um, CMC says that Xzibit album is insane. Not only is it insane, but it sold 1.5 million copies. Publishing on a song, publishing on an album cut, on an album that's platinum plus, the publishing on that could be probably anywhere from, and this is even back 20 years ago, could probably be anywhere from 75 to 100, probably more, no, probably like 100 to 200,000, somewhere in that range, even if it's an album cut on a platinum album, between the royalties, the mechanical royalties, and publishing, it could be upwards of 100 grand. So publishing on that song could probably buy you a house somewhere in America, especially back, when did that drop? 99, 2000? Publishing on that song, Chris owns all the publishing. What could you do with $100,000 in 1999? You could probably buy a house for sure. You could probably buy a Maybach. How much was a Maybach in 1999? Yeah, you could do a lot with that. But big up to Xzibit, whom I've never met. Um, oh, Patrick Y. Yes, thank you. KP, the basketball player who you were trying to remember on Tuesday is Sean Green. Ah, that's my dude, and I couldn't get Sean out. Yo, played at Iona. Yes, he said Sean Green, who played at August Martin and then Oak Hill before going to NC State and then Iona. Oh, he went to NC State first and then transferred to Iona. I didn't know that. But in college, we played against Iona. They were in our conference, the MAC conference. So I got to see Sean Green play a few times and play against him. Um, Super athletic, good jumper. He was a great, well, obviously he was an NBA level player. Sean Green from the Bridge. Big up Sean Green. That's my man. Sorry I could not get your name out. Um Dre Stack Dollar said, you ever rocked out with DJ Jazzy Jeff? He got a banging lunch break mix here on YouTube. Yeah, no, I have never rocked out with Jazzy Jeff. I only met Jeff like a couple times. We did a show in Philly, and Jazzy Jeff was there. Um, and after the show, he was on stage. He came over. He said, "What's up?" It was all good. Just a quick, "Hey, what's up?" And he kept it moving. And the only other time I ever seen him was there's a store in New York City called Rock and Soul. As a matter of fact, I was in Rock and Soul today. In Manhattan. There's a place called Rock and Soul. A big up to my man Money Mike, who runs the vinyl section in Rock and Soul. I was there today, but I saw Jazzy Jeff. This had to be '05, '06. I saw Jazzy Jeff in Rock and Soul. It looked like he was buying a bunch of records, and we just said what's up and kept it moving. But to answer your question, I have never been on the same stage with the great DJ, Jazzy Jeff. Um, Michael Anthony says, Kenny, do you got that beat tape you were gonna play? And the answer, if you just checked in, was no, I forgot. But I will have it on Tuesday because I wanted you guys to hear um the tape that I played for KRS for Sex and Violence. And there's some other beats on there too. Like really raw. Like I'm listening back. It was just loops. I can't even call them beats. It was just me. I was just learning how to use the SP and looping up stuff. But there's a couple things on there. I was like, yo, this might be all right. Um, but no, I'm gonna do it on Tuesday. VHS Xzibit wore a F Napster shirt on MTV Awards show. Yeah, that Napster and the whole file sharing changed the game. Um, oh, Jack Swagger says, KP, make sure that yellow boombox doesn't eat that beat tape. Word. Test the whack cassette first. I don't even know if I have any whack cassettes. All the cassettes I have stuff on it from back in the day, but you're right. I got to find a way to test that. You are 100% right. I have lost many a tape. JT says Jim Jonesy to come off that crack. No, he is convinced that I don't know his exact words, but I don't know if he says he has better songs or his catalog is bigger or he's a bigger artist. I'm not sure of his exact words, but anyway, he thinks he's better. And it has something to do with Billboard. And even those Billboard lists, you ever see the Billboard top 100, top 50 lists? They be ridiculously whack. Not saying that what Jim Jones is saying is whack. I'm saying when I look at these Billboard rankings, I just saw a ranking of there. I forgot who ranked it. Top 10 MCs from New York City. And they had KRS-One at 10, which is interesting. So I was looking to see like who they had before him. I think I disagree with some of those people before because I'm not being biased just as a hip hop fan. I don't know if I agree with that. Anyone who thinks Jim Jones is better artist needs to be drug tested. But you gotta understand, there's young people. If you're 20 years old right now, 2020, you were born in '05. You don't even remember, you barely remember Jim Jones. But that's you definitely don't but you probably still had to have heard Nas songs over the years and probably don't know who the artist is. But I can see where a 20-something-year-old can say, I know more Jim Jones songs than a Nas songs. Sadly, I can see that. But then to add the explanation, because look at his swagger, his belt he had on the dope belts. That's to me is ridiculous. What does a belt have to do with your songs? That is a ridiculous take. Um, but Jim Jones is pushing 50. He I think has more of a perspective of hip hop. And matter of fact, I would like to compare Jim Jones and Nas just from the 2000s. Forget everything Nas did in the 90s. Let's just scratch Nas's Hall of Fame 90s career and just do 2000s on a day, because I believe Dipset and Jim Jones, because when you say Jim Jones, you got to say Dipset too, because I guess most of his records that we would know as part of the whole crew was probably like a 3-4 year period. So I'm going like Dipset was big in like oh 03 to like oh 08 or something, maybe, or less. Let's go 5 years. So I'm gonna say for the 2000s to 2010. Let's look at Nas from 2000 to 2010 and Jim Jones from 2000 to 2010 and see who's the biggest artist even in that block. Just interesting. Jack Swagger says, LOL at using Billboard to justify legacy. I mean, it's a criteria. Record sales is a criteria. Even though if you say, well, Nas never had a song, how many number one songs or top 10 pop songs have Nas had? I think he had one or two, but Nas's albums be selling a million. Nas probably got 8 platinum albums. There's not many artists who ever lived on this earth in the history, talking 100 years of making records, that has 8 platinum albums. I think he has like 8, maybe the least 6. I think all of his albums that was signed, that he was on a major label, all went platinum, I do believe. Um, so if you're just going by Billboard, how many number one albums has Nas had? I don't know if Billboard is, but I'd like to see. I didn't see the clip. I just saw. It, to be honest, I did not see exactly what Jim Jones said, and so I'm just giving y'all little sound bites of what he said, and I could be taking it out of context. Um, but it's just a weird comparison all the way around. And the only reason I brought it up, not to disrespect Jim Jones, like I said, he's had a great career. Just when you talk about so and so's whack and so's dope, I don't believe that even exists. It's just opinions. Stu's Design says, Kenny, I have a question. What are your favorite tracks made by artists that never released an album? That's a hard question because I would have to think of artists who never released an album. I don't even know. It would probably have to be dance hall artists, like, because just about anyone who's ever had a song that had any success, a record company would force an album out of you. We'd have to think of someone who's never put out an album. Only thing I could think of is, how about, like, there's some 80s MCs who probably never put out albums, like Divine Force, I think it was. Who made Holy War? Holy War, Rap's New Generation, Classical 2. Some of the records that used to play in New York, I don't know. I know they had 12-inch singles. I don't think they ever had an album. The MCs that I can't remember their names that rapped over Love is the Message back in the day. Unos, dos, tres, cuatro. Is it MCT? Was it Tricky? There was 2 of them. Um, those type of guys. I love that song. Did Super Rhymes ever make an album? Jimmy Spicer? Because, he's not on this wall over there. I got a picture of me and Jimmy Spicer, aka Super Rhymes. He would definitely be on that list. Yeah, it would have to be 80s artists who were independent that had bangers, or a dancehall artist who probably had like a record here and there that was big, something like that. There's quite a few 80s people who I know. Spoonie G, I love Spoonie G. I know Spoonie G put out an album. Um, that's a great question. I'd have to get back to you on that one, but that's a great question. Uh, Dan Tanner, what's good? Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. I really appreciate it. Says, what's up, Kenny? Thank you for producing on one of my favorite albums all time, Edutainment. That album motivated me to start producing, bro. Me too, actually. Um, Truth be told, I did not produce on that album. KRS did 90% of the production on that album. I know D Nice did a song, um, produced a track. The only song, that's when I was just getting started. The only song that I worked on that album was the Kenny Parker Show. I was in the studio for the recording of quite a few of those songs, not all of them, but a few of them. Original lyrics, just about all the songs that I got a shout out on, I was there. Original lyrics, I was there for that. Love's Gonna Get You, I was not there for the recording, but I was there for the mix. Big up to pal Joey. It's getting a little warm in here, y'all, but I'm gonna thug it out. Um, no, I did not produce. My producing started on Sex and Violence album. But but I was in the studio watching Chris make records, and I was just learning, watching him and watching how he made beats, watching the records, watching him go record shopping. I was just following him everywhere, trying to learn it. And that helped me. That inspired me to start making music. So thank you for your contribution to the channel. And Edutainment was dope. I think Jive wasted that album. That album only had one video and single, and it was out. Jive wasted so many BDP albums, but that's another story for another day. Mr. Boricua, Boracua. Is it Boricua or Boracua? Tell me how to pronounce that. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. I really appreciate it. He said, we all saw the Lox versus Dipset. Everyone agrees that there was a clear winner. It seems like that, yes. Cam, Jewels, and the Hype Man shined. Was Jones even there? I agree with Kenny P. Vanilla Ice is nicer than Jones. I never said. I did not say that Vanilla Ice is nicer than Jim Jones. I said, if you're going to base it on Billboard alone, then a Vanilla Ice, Tone Loc had Tone Loc had one of the biggest selling singles of all time. Wild Thing. I mean, we could just go down the list of people who had big Billboard success that would be ahead of Rakim, Nas, Big, Pac. Like, there's people. How many big pop songs has Tupac had? I mean, he's had huge albums, but how many big pop songs? Maybe 3 or 4? It's like, if you're going to base it on pop songs and rap in the 90s, radio didn't even start playing rap like that till like 93, 94. I got a call and I got to mute it. But yeah, you can't even compare, but I didn't say that Vanilla Ice was better. I'm just saying that you can't really using Billboard as the only criteria isn't it. Jim Jones might be the top 500 commercial hip hop artist, maybe. Top 500. I don't want to turn this into a Jim Jones bashing thing, even though it's practically viral what he said. So I mean, it's all over the place. Um, this is interesting. Gregory Ness said Jim Jones is garbage. I'm not going to say he's not garbage. Jim Jones is not garbage. He has had a incredible career compared to Nas. Compared to Nas, oh, he's garbage compared to Nas. That's an opinion. Cameron and Jules is better than Jim Jones. That would even be an argument. Was Jim Jones even the best rapper in his crew? Forget out Nas and them. Was Jim Jones the best rapper in Dipset? Is a question. There's no right answer. I know y'all think I'm trying to be politically correct, which I sort of am, but I also believe that there's no real right answer. Bill Shapiro, what's up? Has anyone ever used Out of Here as a diss against KRS? He's the only one keeping it going. I've never heard that. I've heard bunches of disses of KRS. I've never heard anyone use Out of Here against him. That would be interesting. Raj Justice says, my first question of who is better is always why does it matter? You know why it matters? Because hip hop. Hip hop has different rules. There's no other genre of music where you would say, David, who's better? Who's better, Phil Collins or Sting or Billy Joel and Elton John or, you know, the Rolling Stones or this and that? When they just love their artists, for who they are. We like to pit people against each other, but that's hip hop. Hip hop is based on battling and who's the best. That is the motivating factor and force that drives hip hop, has driven hip hop since before records. I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. Well, let's see. You rhyme, I rhyme, and we'll see what happens. Um, does it matter? It really doesn't matter, but only in hip hop does it matter, and it's a shame. Um, I hope. I don't know. Let me not say I hope. I wonder if Nas is going to take the high road and just be like, I'm not even going to respond. He doesn't have to respond, but I wonder what how he's going to deal with it. Um, Tori D said, if you go by Billboard, MC Hammer's Jesus. Yeah, I mean, I do believe the biggest selling artist in rap history now is Eminem. And I don't even think he has the most hits, but he probably, he sold the most albums, but I don't even think he has single hits. I would think Jay-Z, no, Drake, I'm bugging. If you go by hits on the Billboard chart, Drake is probably the biggest rapper of all time, probably followed by Jay-Z. Um, I'm pretty sure all of Cash Money, Young Money, like Wayne and Nicki, they would be way up there. Nicki's probably the best female rapper of all time by a mile, going by Billboard. Um, and she might be. I'm just saying, going by Billboard, these guys would be way up there. I think Jay-Z and Drake would probably have the most singles. Don't quote me on that because I'm not sure, but I would imagine. I know I'm probably forgetting somebody, but yeah, because it seems like Jim Jones is going by singles because I believe he had "We Fly High," which was a really huge record, and I don't know if he's basing it on. That has to be his biggest record. I don't even would imagine what his number two record is. Um, But I think he's basing on more kids would know "We Fly High" than a Nas song, so that makes him better. I don't know. I didn't see what he said, but it's just interesting, and it's all over my feed. So exactly, Rosmel says Glorilla has more Billboard hits than Queen Latifah. Does that mean she's better than Queen Latifah? To some people, yeah. To if you go to a high school right now and you say who's better, and that the Glorilla's better. Um, but yeah, according to Billboard, Glorilla is probably better than most female rappers. Light, Latifah, Yo Yo, probably all of them. And that's the argument. Parsons 79 says someone looked it up. Nas has more Billboard entries than Jim. Oh, wow. Is that true? Oh my God. Don't let that be true after Jim Jones made that whole statement. Um, that would be wild. I would think Nas has more entries, but I'm not sure. You know, before I should have went and looked at Jim Jones' actual statement before I said something. But just as I was coming here, it was on my mind because it's all over my feed. But yeah, that's Jack Swagger says Praz was on a diamond selling album. He must be the GOAT. Yeah. And big up to Praz. Praz is mad cool. Big up to the whole Fugees. I'm cool with all of them. Um, Praz, yeah. And he had Ghetto Superstar, which probably was a top 20 record probably at the time. Um, yeah, Praz is way up there. Matter of fact, Praz might be on more Billboard records than Jim Jones. You look at the Fugees, probably had 3 or 4 entries, plus Ghetto Superstar. Praz might have a case against Jim Jones. Jason Wall says Jordan was barely better than John Havlicek statistically, exactly. And Hondo might have more rings than Jordan. Was he down with Bill Russell from the beginning? I know Bill Russell has 11 rings in 13 years. That will never be broken, by the way. A record that'll never be broken. 11 rings in 13 years. Havlicek probably was on like 8 of those. Because I know Havlicek played years after Bill Russell retired. So yeah, he probably didn't start at the beginning. Havlicek probably got like 7 or 8 rings. And he averaged probably like 26, 27 points a game. Yeah, you're right. Joey Joe says, I stopped paying attention to anything saying Jim Jones being a top rapper. I mean, that's a stance. I just, this, Bill Shapiro, ageism in hip hop is sad. It is. Um, but that's hip hop. They say hip hop is a young man's game. There's no other genre of music where they'll just put you out the pasture like that. Other genres, we love our old school stars. I mean, hip hop does too, but there is such a divide between the young and old now. And I think it's unfixable. And in other genres of music, like if you go to a Billy Joel concert or anything, you'll see mad young people there too, who just discovered Billy Joel now, or their parents had the record or something, and they go back and listen and realize that it's still incredible. and the music still stands to this day. It's some of the greatest music ever made. And you'll go back and listen to somebody like that, and then you'll have mad young people just getting on. Hip hop is not like that. It's just like young people listen to whatever is out now, and you old guys, you're like my parents, and I don't want to hear anything you got to say, and it's sad. Uh, but it is what it is. Hip hop has different rules. Ice cold beverage, what up? Says KP, did you get the new Jordan 4 white cements? So you rocking the OGs in the Biz video? Yes. For those that don't know, I was in the Just a Friend video with Biz. And that's why I got this plaque right here. From the album went gold and the single went platinum. And me and Biz used to hang out every day anyway. We was hanging out the night. We was hanging out the night before of that video. I didn't even know he had a video shoot. I was hanging with Biz, and he was like, yo, I'm shooting a video for my song tomorrow. You should stay at my crib till the morning and we just go. So really, the clothes I have on in that video is what I had on the day before when I ran into Biz. And it just so happens that I'm rocking Jordan, this is 89, so I'm rocking Jordan 4s. Jordan 4s in that video. That's a good call right there. No, I did not get the new Jordans. Jack Swagger said Jim Jones ain't even top 3 and did say. I mean, I don't know if it's a publicity stunt or he really believes that. That he, that he really feels that he's better. Def Rocker says KRS is going to have to be drugged before get on a plane. Yeah, like Mr. T. Yeah, from the 18. MK Ultra. What do you think about DJ Vlad? Well, DJ Vlad saying besides the beats on Illmatic, Nas is the worst beat chooser for an artist of his caliber. I don't know. When you're an artist, you get a lot of people playing beats for you, and I guess you're looking for certain things to rhyme to. Um, Once again, that is subjective. Uh, I've heard people say that. I've heard people say it about KRS too. Um, I didn't like the tracks, but you don't know what the pool the artist had to pick from at that time. Say an artist gets played 50, 60, 70 beats for an album. What he picked might have been the best 12 or 15 out of the 60 or 70 that he heard. Now, somebody else might have heard another batch of 50 or 60 or 70, and in that batch, people might say is a better beats. Here's the crazy thing though. Most beats that you hear on hit records, the artist who got the beat was not the first person who the beat was played for. We've all heard stories about how I played this beat for so-and-so, they turned it down, I gave it to so-and-so, they liked it, and it became a hit. So we don't know how many beats Nas heard that he didn't like that somebody else took and made a hit out of. I'm going to say this. I believe things work out the way they work out. Nas is one of the greatest artists to ever record music in any genre. He has the sales to back it up. He has the critical acclaim to back it up. He has the longevity to back it up. And he did it in a time where it was the hardest to be dope. He rose to the top of the pile when Big and Pac and Wu and Jay and all of these crazy lyricists were out. He was dope then. And like people don't understand, how really hard it is to make a hit record and how hard it is to really stay on top. For a dude like Nas to have 7, 8 million selling albums is ridiculous. So whatever way his career turned out, for whatever way Vlad or anyone else thinks he should have picked this beat over that beat, I would pick being Nas over anybody, not anybody, but I would be very happy as an artist if my career turned out like Nas's. I would be ecstatic. Nas will soon hopefully be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He deserves to be in there. Um, Whatever beats he picked or whatever, he did it, man. Nas really did it. Nas will be remembered for all time. You could strip off all the beats that Nas ever made and just play acapellas, and it would be incredible. So, no disrespect to Vlad. I've never met Vlad. Um, he does some good interviews, but I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that he says. Um, but we could all agree to disagree. He probably don't agree with things I said. Not that he's listening to my channel, but um, I don't. I take what people like Vlad say with a grain of salt. First of all, you have to take what anybody says with a grain of salt. But I take a person like Vlad, what he says, as a grain of salt. I could name some incredible beats after Illmatic that Nas jumped on. And I could probably pick beats that I didn't like for any number of artists. I don't know, man. Let's see. Reed Buffy says, salute, thank God it's Friday. Yes, for those that's just tuning in, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew. Mr. Barakwa, yes, was it true that KRS song Jimmy was a Jim Jones diss? No, Jimmy came out in 1988. I don't know what Jim Jones is doing. He's considerably younger than KRS, so he probably was in grammar school. Or let's see, KRS made Jimmy 88. KRS was 23 when he made Jimmy. Jim Jones is probably like 13 or 14, something like that. So no, Jimmy is a spinoff of Jim Browski, the Jungle Brothers record. Remember Jim Browski? That's what it is. And they talking about Jimmy being 7 foot, man. And everybody knew what they was talking about, the Jim Browski. So Chris made a spinoff of Jim Browski saying Jimmy wears a hat. So it was really a safe sex song. Jimmy is wearing a hat. And KRS took the melody from Paul McCartney. Someone's knocking at the door. Somebody's ringing the bell. One of my favorite Paul McCartney records, probably my favorite Paul McCartney record, not with the Beatles, and did that song. And in that song, he says, never trust a big button to smile, which Belle Biv DeVoe took and made it practically a hook for Poison, to which KRS-One probably should have sued and got money, got publishing for that. Publishing on Poison. That record is still playing to this day. Publishing on Poison was probably over 35 years, millions of dollars. Let's say $10 million. Let's say $10 million was the publishing on Poison. That would mean KRS probably would have got like 5% for them saying don't trust the big button to smile. So he probably got like 500,000. I don't know. I talk about publishing a lot on this channel, but it's very important. Bill Shapiro, hip hop versus rap is a 10. Tell us about the creation of that. I think I broke down this. I'm not going to do it now because there's a whole video on this channel called The Making of the Sound of the Police 12-inch. I broke down that 12-inch, which was a 12-inch that I'm all over. And there's a whole backstory behind that. And I go into the creation of hip hop versus rap. I go into a lot of detail. So check out on this channel. I think I did it like a year and a half ago. On this channel, there's a video called Sound of the Police 12-inch, the making of. And I go into great detail about that song. No, I did not get a chance to listen to the new Slick Rick. I was in the studio. Jamel says, what's up, Kenny? Next time you talk to your brother, KRS, can you ask him, are there any new projects coming up this year? Well, hopefully he'll come on the channel and answer the question himself. And I'm way behind, so what I'm going to do, I don't think Benny Doyle's in the chat, but I'm going to scroll all the way down and catch up. I just missed 50 comments. I'm going to jump in right here. Jack Jackson, my favorite Jim Jones hits took place at the Rucker Park. Oh yeah, isn't that when was it Biggie's people? Somebody, Brooklyn dudes ran up at the Rucker Park and ran up on Jim Jones, right? Something like that. Don't quote me. I'm not condoning any violence, but I think that's what you're referring to. Dartmouth says, KRS-One only feared one MC in a battle, Biz Markie. No. I've heard Chris say, you can't beat Biz in a battle because he's not gonna rap. He's gonna do something crazy like pull his pants down or, do something outlandish like that. And in a battle, you can't beat a person like that. You'll do a dope rhyme and Biz will do a rhyme and then pull his pants down and have on a diaper or something and you'll lose. I've heard Chris say that before. You don't want to battle a person like Biz because he'll take it outside of MCing and you will lose. JoJo says the LN and the YNs like Jim Jones because he was making club and radio joints, they know, while Nas was making dope albums, but not much club joints. Yeah. I mean, Nas had a few club joints in his day, but Jim Jones and Dipset were specifically trying to make records for the club. MMA says, what time frame was Jim Jones again? I'm trying to think. Dipset was big in like, when was it, like 04? Something like that, right? And it was hot for like 2 or 3 years maybe, right? Or maybe it was early. Maybe it was like 02 to like 05. It was like 3 years they were hot. And then they kind of tapered off. And then Jim Jones would have guest appearances here and there. And then he made We Fly High. That had to be in like 2011. I can't think off the top of my head. Maybe 2012. He made We Fly High, which was big, the biggest record of his career. And so I would say, but I'm saying I was saying 2000 to 2010. And we'll throw We Fly High in there whenever that came out. Let's look at Nas just from 2000 to 2010 and look at Jim Jones from 2000 to 2010. So that means we're throwing in Stillmatic with Ether and One Mic and all of those records. We're throwing in Godson with They Shooting, I Made You Look, all of that. versus Jim Jones, and I would like to see how that stacks up. And this is off the top of my head. Um I have no facts in front of me. Def Rock, I saw this too. Your thoughts on RZA says his cousin Jizza is better lyricist than Nas and Rakim. I saw that last week. I think we talked about it briefly. I mean, was it a Tuesday? Um, Once again, um, his argument, and I think the Jizza is a dope lyricist and a mad cool guy. He is the person in the Wu-Tang Clan that I know the best, is the Jizza. Just a super cool brother. But Kenny, I can't put him in the same category with Nas and Rakim. You're talking about dudes that have solo albums. See, it's different when you're in a crew with other MCs. Wu-Tang, Jizza's dopeness is in the midst of Wu-Tang, the crew. Even his solo records had Method Man in one of his biggest singles. Um, Compare it to a guy like Nas or Rakim who's carried whole albums by themselves. You can't even put them in the same category to me. Now RZA was alluding to, he was talking about how Jiz's pen game in the Wu-Tang is unmatched. I think he was alluding to Jizza wrote more than what we know. And there's been rumors out here that Jizza wrote some other people's rhymes in the group, including Old Dirty Bastard. So now, if Jizza wrote a lot of the Nas's stuff, I mean, a lot of Wu-Tang stuff, um, that would give his pen a little more weight. But even still, it's different when you write something and someone else says it, because he could have wrote a rhyme and it could have came out one way, but if he gave that rhyme to ODB and ODB put his spin on it, it becomes something different. I don't know what Jizza wrote. There's rumors that the great Wu-Tang had ghostwriters. I don't know. I would love to get the answer to that. RZA made a good case, but I can't. You'd have to talk to me about a solo artist. When you say Nas and Rakim, you have to put a solo artist up next to him. That's just my opinion. And Jizza is great. VK says Billboard is record sales. Billboard is record sales and radio play. There was a formula. It's like, I think it was 60-40. They had a formula over the years. It's changed now. But they had a formula over the years. It's some percentage sales and some percentage radio play equals your position on the charts. Then with the streaming services, it changed to streams are basically the main reason why you go up and down the charts. YouTube streams, Spotify, that kind of stuff, and radio adds to your Billboard chart. So it's a little different now. That's why records now can come in on the Billboard Hot 100. Records be coming in the top 10 because everyone listens to the record the first week. A song the first week, they watch the video, they stream, and so it's a big week. And then after that, it just falls off a cliff. It doesn't stay because everybody listened that first week. That's why artists now could come on the charts and their whole album be on the top 100. They'll have like 10 songs in the top 100 on Billboard. That's because of the way things are registered now. So You said Billboard is record sales. It does not rate talent. If I'm selling perfume and someone else is selling sludge, and the sludge sells 1 million bottles, it doesn't mean sludge smells better. Right? It could mean you're a better salesman. It could mean at that moment, sludge was more important than smelling good. It could be that LeBron James wore this sludge in a game and now you're selling it. It could be any number of reasons why sludge would sell over perfume, and you're right. Um, but talent is subjective. What's talented to one person is trash to another. But I see what you're saying. And I'm trying to be not combative on this and give my opinion like that because I think Jim Jones is dope too. Um, I'm trying to be subjective here. Hamster Deal says, absolutely, Kenny P. Nas doesn't have to respond. I agree. If I was Nas, I would keep it moving. That statement would be gone by next week. April 7th said, Jim Jones is not even the star of Hip Hop Wives, whatever that reality show is. Love and Hip Hop, I think, whatever. I'm not going to gang up on Jimmy on this channel. I don't know the guy. Engage VR says, hit that like button, y'all, please. Yes, please hit the like button. You get a chance. Joey Joe says, I think LL had more hit songs than any other solo rap artist. He's had a lot of hit records. We're talking Billboard, though, because a hit, see, back in the 80s and 90s, a hit rap record wasn't even, you could have a hit on the Billboard rap chart. But if you're talking about the Billboard Hot 100, that's every record out, and that's the pop chart. I don't know how many of LL's big records would have been on that pop. He's had a bunch of them, though. I don't know if he would have any other solo. Drake is easily, I would say, number one. Because they count your features as well. Drake would easily be number one. And I think Hove and Wayne, these kind of guys, would be way up there. If Billboard judged rap in the 80s and 90s the way they did in the 2000s, LL would be higher. If it comes to Billboard, Drake is better than Kool G Rap and KRS. Drake is better than Kool G Rap and KRS and Kane and Rakim put together. If it comes to Billboard. Thanks, Corey Flood says, Drake by far is the biggest rapper of all time with the most Billboard hits. Features count. Yeah, Lil Wayne is second. Yeah, I was right. I thought Hove would be second. I'm pretty sure he's up there. Patrick Wise says, no comment on Jim Jones. Let him live. Let's let him live, man. Let Jim Jones live. But when you put stuff out there in the sphere, especially what would be considered a controversial statement, you're gonna get some blowback. I'm probably gonna get some blowback from what I'm saying. I might run into Jim Jones and he might be like, yo, what was that you was talking on the internet? And I'm gonna have, stand by what I said. I'm not disrespecting Jim Jones or Dipset by no means. I think they've had an incredible run. I've never met Jim Jones. I've never met Joel Santana. I've met Cameron. He was mad cool at the time. I met Cameron before Dipset. I met Cameron when he had Horse and Carriage is for Hire. And he was mad cool, mad respectable when I met him. I didn't meet the Dipset Cameron. I met the Horse and Carriage Cameron. But I say all that to say, I have no disrespect to any of them or any artist. It's just that that's a tough one. Corey Flood said, kids don't remember We Fly High. They might. It might be in some NBA 2K or some game or something. You're right, but depending if you're in high school right now, you might not even remember We Fly High. You might not even remember that. But I'm saying if you're 25, 20 something, you probably remember that when you was in first or second grade, something like that. Dartmouth says pop means popular. Real hip hop is not pop. It's a counterculture. No? Well, hip hop was the counterculture. Hip hop was the anti R&B when it first started. It was the spin-off of R&B. It was like R&B's rebellious child. And it went away and wild out, but then it came back home. And but with different rules. And rap is, well, I don't know about up until past couple of years, rap music, hip hop was the most popular selling music in the world. Rap became pop. Um, and when you say real hip hop, that's even subjective, but that is not pop. I mean, you could be Gang Starr and have an incredible career and never, I don't even know if they ever had a pop record. I don't know if Gang Starr was ever on the Billboard 100. Maybe Mass Appeal, maybe, or one of the records they did with Jodeci or something. And um, we all love Gang Starr. MMA says almost, I don't know what you're talking about. Almost everyone read Insanity was a real thing. I remember that game against the Raptors. We just jumped into basketball. I was a huge fan of Insanity and Jeremy Lin. And I felt, here goes a controversial statement. Um, the Knicks that year were losing and were on a losing streak and were struggling and looked like another lost season. And then Melo got hurt. A couple of other guys got hurt, and Jeremy Lin came in and exploded. And the Knicks went on like a 7-game winning streak, and they won something like 8 out of 10 or some crazy thing like that. And then Melo came back, and they kind of reverted back to the Melo way, and the Knicks started losing again. I'm not blaming Melo. I'm just saying I think the Knicks should have stuck with the Linsanity style of basketball because not only was it popular, but it was winning. The Knicks were losing. They had a winning streak with Jeremy Lin, and when they went back to Melo, they started losing again. Um, I think that was a huge mistake, and a huge mistake to let Jeremy Lin walk off to Houston. I thought that this whole thing was handled wrong. Um, this is very interesting. Dre Stack says the kids identify with him because he's still putting on a gang member facade. That could be a factor. Um, he's pushing 50, but he works out, he looks good, and if it works, man, I don't know. I think that is very dangerous. Pushing out the gang image is extremely dangerous and destructive to the youth. But I don't want to sound like that old guy, but because somebody could be like, well, look at y'all in the 80s and 90s. Look at y'all. Y'all put out Criminal Minded. Look at all that gangster rap. And it's true. But I think that gang culture, that drill music is just, there's no good that could come from that, in my opinion. Not dissing the youngsters, but come on. Greg Cadell says Certified Gangster is probably his second biggest record. And that wasn't even a pop record. I could probably think of a couple. He probably had a couple of features that probably was on the pop chart. I don't know. I don't even know where his criteria is coming from. Um, Corey Flex said Glorilla is better than Queen Latifah. We liked Latifah way more than we ever liked her music. The average person couldn't name 3 Latifah songs. And this, thank you, Corey Flood, because you prove my point. You think Glorilla is better than Queen Latifah. For the record, I think Glorilla is not even in the same universe as Queen Latifah. And it's not just because we liked Latifah, but because lyrical skill and the songs that she put out. Now, me as a hip hop person, I could name a bunch of Latifah songs. But you said the average person. You mean the average hip hop listener? I bet you the average hip hop listener of our age could name a Latifah songs. Um, and radio wasn't even the way it is. Like I said, radio is different now and streaming. But Corey Flood thinks Glorilla is better than Queen Latifah. So there you have it. I respect that opinion. Fahim Lee, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Says, peace, Kenny. Get late to the party. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Party people in the audience, match or beat my donation. Show love to DJ Jimmy Gorham. Thank you so much for your contribution. I really appreciate it. Like I always say, we don't have sponsors on this channel, so keep the channel going. Contributions like this are really appreciated. Haven't seen you here in a while. But thank you so much. Um, let's see. CMCs, once again, thank you for your contribution, as usual, to the channel. To Gangstar Flip, step into in the arena, then flip their jazz sound and drop Daily Operation. Were you surprised by that evolution? No. First of all, nothing DJ Premier does surprises me. Maybe it surprises me then, maybe then, but um, DJ Premier started moving in that direction with Dwick and Take It Personal, those kind of songs. So I could see him want a little more rugged bounce. I was not surprised. Like when I heard that album and them songs, I didn't think, wow, Gangstar really went left. I didn't think that. I just thought just some more dopeness. Hold on a second. Step in the Arena was their first album, I believe. And then their second album was Daily Operation. Are we talking about their first to second album? Um, it was a change. It didn't seem drastic to me. It didn't seem like a drastic change. It just seemed like um, evolution. Um, let's see. Joey Joseph's thing is, why compare Jim Jones to artists like Nas, who was around making music way before Jim thought of rapping? Well, I don't know what the whole conversation started with this kid, this 20-year-old saying that Jim Jones was better than Nas. I don't know how they got on that subject, but that's how it started. And then Jim Jones, I believe, jumped in the comments section and said something like, thank you, or finally, like, thank you to the kid for saying that. And then that's when the whole firestorm started. But it's even a weird comparison. Even compare them is weird. Rig says Robert Ory got 7 rings. Yeah, but he deserved. I mean, Robert Ory hit some gigantic. He was a very, very important player in those rings. He wasn't just hanging out, but he hit some gigantic. He's one of the most clutch players of all time. But yeah, he got 7 rings. So I could think of 20 first ballot Hall of Famers off the top of my head that based on rings, Robert Ory would be better than. That's why it's not just rings. Mike Rock said, I'm here 43 minutes late. Better late than never, Mike Rock. So you can get down with the rewind crew. I'm going to scroll all the way down, y'all. I'm trying to get to the bottom because I want to get to the latest comments. Man, there's a lot of comments. I'm sorry, y'all, that I missed so many of you guys' comments. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of the pile. Okay, and come back up. Patrick Wise says, Jeremy Lin was taking bodies and cashing checks. If I had a run like that, I would be satisfied with my career. Yeah. And they actually had a very solid career after that. It just was never Linsanity ever again. Someone said blasphemy. Is that to what I said? Oh, Gangstar's first album is No More Mr. Nice Guy. Is that the one with Words I Manifest on it? That's when I discovered Gangstar, Manifest. Let's see. Oh, Markeith says, R.I.P. Kevin Yarborough, 72. Half of the icon R&B duo Yarborough and Peoples. Oh, wow. Don't stop the music. Just because it's 2 o'clock, don't mean that we have to stop. Word? Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I'm just seeing this right now. Wow. Rest in peace to him. For me, that was a class. That was a big record. That was a big R&B record. I don't know where it landed on the Billboard 100, but that was a big R&B record. 1980. I remember that record was on the radio. Wow. I didn't know that. Thanks for hitting me with that. Rosmel says, ladies first, UNITY, Just Another Day, and Living Single. Anybody over the age of 30 can name those songs. Absolutely. Wrath in My Madness. I I could name her singing records. When I'm Next to You. I could name a bunch of Latifah records, but I'm a Latifah fan. Um, Corey Fluss says, Kenny, I'll take the Latifah challenge. I bet rap fan 35 and older cannot name 3 Latifah songs. I'll even say you use Latifah's features like Buddy. 35, that means you were born in 1990. That means you probably came of age to really start like in like 10 years later. So if you were born in 1990, you probably really started listening to records and like you was aware of the artist probably like 2000, probably like 10, 11, right? So I would think 35. You said 35 and older. Because I'm saying if you're like 40, 45, you know Queen Latifah. First of all, Ladies First was huge. Who you calling a bitch? And she had Latifah's Had It Up to Here. I don't know. I would like that challenge. I would like to see that challenge. Jack Swagger says DJ Premier in Deep Concentration. I think I mentioned this about a year ago, or a little over a year ago. I was chilling with Premier in the studio last year, and he pulled out the original record that he used for DJ Premier and Deep Concentration. A weird, ill record. He pulled it out and was playing it for me. And I was like, he said, this is where I got this from. He was telling me the story about how he found the record. I can't remember, but um that, yeah, when you just brought that up, I just thought about that. Preem played me. He still has the original record laying around. Jack Swagger says UNIT Wale. Dance for Me was dope too. She even had a house record coming to my house. She sung on Buddy. I don't know, man. Patrick Wise says definitely should let that Lynn train ride out. KP, you might not blame Melo, but I do. Melo even should have faked the injury to let Lynn ball out. The ball movement was good with it. Absolutely. D'Antoni was a pioneer of modern basketball the way it is now with the 4 out, 1 in, 4 out. And they had Stoudemire, when he got back, put Stoudemire in the paint and have everybody out spread for Jeremy Lin, set picks. They should have rolled up a Melo. It was a proven superstar. And I even watched some interviews with some of the Knicks players. I was watching Melo. This is the other day. Melo, Baron Davis, somebody else. They was talking, and they was like, it was basically ridiculous to say that, they had to sit down and have a meeting about whose team was it. Was it Jeremy Lin's team or was it Carmelo's team? And it was like, that's a ridiculous argument because Jeremy Lin wasn't even in the same universe as Melo. Jeremy Lin had a great 2 weeks and Melo was a superstar. And I agree with that, except the Melo ball wasn't working at the time. This is damn near in the middle of the season. This was like January, February, something like that, right? When insanity broke out. The whole season was a wash until they went on that run. I would have loved to have seen, Jeremy Lin got hurt anyway, but I would have loved to have seen how that played out. Coming to My House was dope. Yep. John Dixon says, I can't name one Glorilla song. She has a few songs out. She has all of her songs came out basically in the past like year and a half. And then, the girls like to twerk to it or whatever. I wouldn't put Glorilla in the same universe as Queen Latifah, but I respect all opinions. Jason Wall says Melo had that game where he had 60 points and 0 assists. That's a wild game, man. I remember that. The ball will be moving there. When they get to Melo, he has one way of playing. Once again, Corey Flood says, Kenny, Jeremy Lin wasn't that good of a player. He never repeated that brief success. Well, those are two separate conversations. Jeremy Lin was a 13, 14 point a game player on Houston and even the Lakers. I think he averaged like 11, 12 on that terrible Laker team. And then when he went to Charlotte, he was very good. And then he went to Brooklyn. He was their leading scorer, I believe. Him and I forgot the tall 7-footer with the twin brother. He was one of the main guys in Brooklyn. Then he blew his knee, and it was never the same after that. But to say he never repeated that brief success, no, he never had the moment like Insanity. And you could probably say it's because he never played again with D'Antoni. And you got to remember, Houston gave him a huge contract, and they brought him to Houston to be the #1 guy. And then the beard became available. And once Harden became available, they brought him to Houston, and he became James Harden as we know him now. He wasn't James Harden like that on OKC. He was a 6-man. He came to Houston and exploded, and Jeremy Lin had to figure out how to play around him. But I say all that to say that he never had the success of Linsanity means he wasn't that good. I disagree once again, Corey Flood. Um, he was a good player. He never had the Linsanity numbers ever again. But that's okay. Um, Sometimes you get a moment in time where everything just falls together and everything lines up. Floshi One says, I love Jizz. I have several Jizza t-shirts over the years. I wish I had a Jizza t-shirt. I love Jizza too, professionally and personally. I just don't think he's in the same conversation with Nas and the God Rakim. You know what Rakim did? I just don't see him like that, but others do. RZA does. Um, yeah, Dukes Peasy said royalty. Royalty probably hit the Billboard Hot 100. Um, let's see. All right, we're approaching. Oh, it's 9:31. Damn. All right, I'm gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then I'm gonna jump off. MMA says Wrath of My Madness. Wrath of My Madness was fire. Red Alert used to play that every week. I never even had a video. Oh, MK Ultra says that audio you dropped off of Dougie Fresh and KRS was fire. Thank you so much. But those that didn't get a chance to listen to it, we talked a week ago about KRS and Dougie Fresh ever performing together, and I said I had a cassette from 1997 of us rocking on stage. I dug up the cassette and I dug up the cassette and I put it up for those to listen to. So those that didn't get a chance to listen to it, it is up. Dougie Fresh and KRS. And I'm gonna put batteries in my radio. That is my mission. Put batteries in the radio. I'm gonna go tomorrow and get some batteries and see if this radio still works. And try to play this cassette. I got a few cassettes that I dug up. All right, y'all. Let me just grab a couple of other comments that I'm gonna jump off. Oh, Engaged VR. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. So salute, Kenny. Remember back in the day when certain music videos were treated like premieres? Example, Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney. Say, yeah. Well, that's when MTV was ruling, and then there were some other video channels, but there weren't that many videos. Um, back in the day, you had to be a big artist or have a big song to get a video. Your song had to warrant a video. It was like your song had to be a hit at this level, a hit at the next level, and then the record company feels in order for us to take it to another level, we need a video. So your song had to reach a level where in order to take it to the next level, it needed a video. Most artists didn't have videos, didn't have that kind of budget. Now, Michael Jackson, first single off of Thriller, you got to imagine Michael Jackson is coming off of Off the Wall, which at that time was the biggest selling solo artist album of all time. Diamond. He's coming off of that. So you got to imagine the new Michael Jackson video is going to be a world premiere. Yes, I do remember that. And looking back on that Thriller album, I find it odd that they picked Say Say Say. Um no, I'm wrong because no, The Girl Is Mine was the Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney first single off of Thriller. The Girl Is Mine. Say was, I believe, for Paul McCartney's album. I had it wrong. Say, I think it was for Paul McCartney's album. The Girl Is Mine, but I still say The Girl Is Mine being the first single off of the Thriller album. Looking back at that album, I find that odd. I mean, there's only 8 songs on that album, but I wonder why they went there first. Is it because Paul McCartney was on the song? I forgot about Say. What you want? Yeah, I remember all of them videos. I remember Run DMC Rock Box. Seeing that for the first time, like, wow. All right, y'all. Um, let's see. Yes. Okay. We've been on an hour and a half. For those that's just checking in, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We're doing this every Friday and every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew. This Tuesday, I'm going to try my hardest to get the batteries for the radio so I can play this cassette. It's really hot and warm here in my apartment. I'm about to cut this AC on right now and cool off. And I will catch you guys next week. And thank you guys for checking in. Once again, this really means a lot to me. You guys have no idea. I really enjoy checking you guys out on a Friday and a Tuesday. So peace to all you guys. And I'll catch you guys next week. Yeah. Boom. All right. We out.